This is your girl, Kimberly Harris. Welcome to the Bitter Greens podcast. A couple of weeks ago, me and some girlfriends had an opportunity to leave our houses that we were quarantining in and going to another house to quarantine in for the weekend. The good news is that this was near a beach. And if you guys follow me or know me, anywhere there's water, I will find my way. Usually I go there to pray or to meditate or literally lay my burdens down. I legit tell the ocean all my troubles and watch them roll away. And then I do not allow them to come back. This particular morning, I decided to slip away and do two things. One, I needed to exercise because we had eaten enough for like a football team. I needed to work off some of those calories. The other part of it is that I wanted to catch up with my book club reading. After I watched the remix, Hip Hop and Fashion, which was a documentary on Netflix, it was about, some dope Black visionaries in fashion that totally changed the game. Either influenced high fashion, broke the rules, made their own rules, but were just totally dope in the fashion industry. And one of those people highlighted was Dapper Dan. So I was so pressed to add this book to our list of things to read because his life, just intrigued me. Totally recommend the documentary. I totally recommend reading the book, and I'll try not to spoil it, but I was just intrigued by his life. You talk about fall down 7 times and get up 8. This guy did not allow the low point to forfeit his life and give up his purpose. He had the tenacity, just very focused on becoming the best version of himself. In this part of the book, it literally stopped me in my tracks. I mean, literally, I am walking down the beach and I'm very close to the water line. And in this moment, I just forgot where I was. I literally stopped and the water rushed up. This quote that he referenced during this portion of the book was by Malcolm X. And it said, "If you want to understand the flower, you must study the seed. If you want to understand the flower, you must study the seed. If you want to understand the flower, you must study the seed." And I was like, this is exactly what this whole self-improvement thing is about. It's about digging deep to study who we are and what motivates us. Also, what trips us up. What are our challenges, our temptations, our bad habits that we need to break? And how do we move about to either shed the things that are not for us or add and pursue the things that will make us the best versions of ourselves? And I literally was stopped in my tracks. I think I listened to that quote 17 times, literally. And I bet you when Dapper Dan read it, he probably stopped in his tracks because it was at that place where he was trying to figure out how he could get more disciplined so he could be in charge of his life. Again, I totally recommend that you read it if you're into not just fashion, but history. He tells a lot about what was going on in New York at the time, the rap game, as well as like street life. Just seeing how people, and especially him, can survive all the turbulence and still pursue his dream and come out on top. Like you just can't, you got to keep going. If we're saying that we need to study the seed to understand the flower, I will go a step further to say we also need to examine where we come from to understand generational cycles and family legacy. I would call that the soil. So you have the seed, the flower, and then the environment in which we're in would be the soil. To understand the flower, you must study the seed and determine what nutrients your flower needs to flourish. How much water do we need? Are we getting enough water? What do we need to change? Do we need to change the soil? Do we need to change our environment to promote growth? Are we growing in the shadow? Do we have enough light? Heck, like what kind of flower am I? Am I a flower? Am I a plant? Am I a snake plant that can grow despite unfavorable conditions? Or am I a flower that needs more tender loving care? It really is an opportunity for us to dig deep. In order to understand who we are now, the flower, we have to study the seed. And then I took it a step further to say, and the environment in which we're in. The formal definition for self-improvement, according to Merriam, Webster, is the act or process of improving oneself by one's own actions. So it's really about us being proactive, us digging deep, us identifying what it is that we need to add or subtract, and making that happen in order for us to thrive and become the best versions of ourselves, and ultimately to fulfill our purpose, right? And to live the life that we want. How are you adding to your life? What are you gaining new skills and knowledge in to be a better person? The other part in this is that when we are looking at self-improvement, it makes us uncomfortable. And not only does it make us uncomfortable, sometimes it makes the people around us uncomfortable. Jay-Z has a quote that speaks to how others perceive your growth when you change. Unfortunately, I think that this is true. Take a listen.
It's like this thing, this love-hate thing that the world has with success, period. It deals for the most part with success. It deals with people who you started your life off with and what success does to them. People look at you strange saying you changed, like you worked that hard to stay the same, like you're doing all this for a reason. And what happens most of the time, people change. People change around you because they start treating you different because of your success. So you are changing. You don't change who you are, the core of who you are, the things you believe, the things you love, and the things you die for, and your principles. You don't change that, but you're going to change who you are. You're going to change, you can't do the same things that you can't hang on the corner. Some people may not be comfortable with that. And then it deals with the other side of success, how people look at you when you're successful. Media medals, people sue you, settle. Every step you take, they remind you get. So no matter how far you are, you still have that stigma on you of where you come from when you walk inside the door. Even if you have a tuxedo on, it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy who used to be this and did that.
The goal ultimately is to change and mature. It's a metamorphosis. We are not meant to remain the same person. We have stages in our lives from birth to death, and we transition physically. You can see that. And we'd be remiss if we didn't have that same transformation internally, and that we were growing and maturing as we were matriculating through life. The other part in this, and we talked about it earlier, was, in order to be the best versions of ourselves, it requires us to shed some things or some people or some distractions that are getting in the way or becoming a barrier to us becoming who we're meant to be. At first blush, this list of things we have to do to improve ourselves, it could seem like a lot. It is very hard. And I don't know how many times I have arguments with guys like, I don't want to do that. Why are you making me do this? But I've also been on the other side of it and seeing how forgiveness has been helpful, to see how me growing or just understanding that the apology that I didn't receive is fine, but I had to dig deep and understand, why did you feel the way that you did about this? And why did it linger for so long? And making sure that I'm not spending a lot of time looking back at what I tripped over versus moving forward. And, it's very uncomfortable. The question is it worth it? There's a few benefits that I've jotted down just to share with you guys. One is self-awareness. I know who I am and what I like, and I choose my influences intentionally. I'm no longer moved by what other people think about me. And that doesn't mean it doesn't sting from time to time, but I have to evaluate, is this valuable? Is this coming from a person that brings value to my life, or is this just meant for my harm? And so I'm very intentional and self-aware about my influences and what I allow in my circle. The second thing is self-pride, overcoming things that were meant to destroy me and being happy about overcoming those things and then sharing my story so that it could be or assist someone else and be their survival guide. The third thing is a sense of direction and purpose. I feel like self-improvement, and when you're digging deep and you're getting raw, you get a sense of clarity you would not otherwise have because you put in that work and discipline. The work and the discipline provides that clarity. So then you know exactly where you're going. And that moves into my number 4, having very clear set goals and grounded in those goals and your desire to execute them. I challenge all of you, and this includes myself, everything I'm talking to you guys about, I'm either going through the process at the same time or I've been through it, and just identify one goal that is a desire of your heart and put in the work and the discipline, then assessing how you feel when you're on the other side of it. It doesn't have to be something that is so overwhelming and unachievable or unattainable, or just something that is a far reach. Do something that you've been wanting to do that is within reach, and then you can incrementally upscale your goal. The other piece of it is resiliency. Once you've been through some things, and I know y'all been through some things, I've been been through some things, you bounce back quicker. You learn not to sweat the small things. You learn to control your emotions, and what has moved you before, you don't even allow that to affect you anymore. But that also sets us up to understanding that with every peak, there's a valley. And so we get to learn to anticipate the valleys, but we don't live in worry. And then falling down and getting back up quicker. Like, that is, to me, one of the best things about being able to grow and improve, because you don't allow the blows that would have knocked the wind out of you to do it, the second time or the third time around. Like, oh, I know what that looks like. Let me handle this because I have experience in it. And we're allowing our expertise in life to assist us in the next valley that might come. But also when we're in the peaks and the mountains, we're able to celebrate and dance just a little harder because we've overcome some things. The other part, and this would be my number 6, is your relationships improve. As we improve ourselves, if you care about the people that are in your circle, it just trickles down. You're more intentional about, how you treat people. You're intentional about what you say to them and how they might take something that you've said. You apologize. You hold yourself accountable. You're not just popping off at the mouth because you've taken the time, because you understand that some of that same pain that you've experienced, you might be afflicting on somebody else. And so once we, dig a little deeper and work on ourselves, typically, if we're doing it right, our relationships improve. There are so many other benefits that we could share. The 7th thing for me is it connects to a higher purpose. Once I continue, because it is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and then you're going to have multiple things that you're going to have to improve, but it's connected to a higher purpose and being. It's not just about me. My purpose is connected to so much more, and that's what we need to embrace. And once we take on that responsibility, I think we would handle it more gently. If you follow me on social media, you'll see that I always, for most of my posts, have heal, grow, love, and evolve. When we heal, we grow. When we grow, we increase our capacity to love, and then watch yourself evolve. This is not about hashtags for me. I like to assist in helping someone change their life for the better, including my own. So, what is your one goal that you're going to work on this year and watch yourself heal, grow, love, and evolve? It's bigger than you. Dig deep. Thank you guys for joining me this week. If you like the podcast, please follow me on Spotify. You can also subscribe on iTunes. I am also on Instagram at bittergreens1. So if you like quotes and want to drop comments about the episodes, you can meet me there. I look forward to talking with you guys next week. Now go win the day. Don't let the day win you.